Hey, what's an NFT? And is your web browser spying on you? And do I talk too much? Let's get going. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm David Yakir, and this is Yak About Today in Tech, where people of all ages can benefit from the technology around us. So listen up, because if I can learn it, you can learn it. So you know I always open the show with something about wugging, which is a walking jog, which is what I do most mornings of the week. And there was something, I don't think I ever told you this before. But for those of you who run or jog or walk, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But this is my particular experience. So sometimes when you're when you're walking or wogging, you fall into this sort of trance-like state where, you're less aware of walking and you're really in your head. Most people, when that happens to, are wearing headphones, listening to music. Some people listen to really fast music, which gets them going. Some people listen to disco. Some people listen to music that goes down memory lane. Anyway, so the other day, and this has happened to me a lot, but in particular the other day, I put my headphones on. I started walking, and for some reason, I had my iPhone set to Sirius XM, and I said, I'm going to listen to the 60s station. And what was interesting is the songs play one after another, and each song brought back a memory, as music often does. But this time, it brought back sort of memories, very specific memories, almost like I was back there. I could visualize it. It's like the first time I heard Hound Dog. I had this way of thinking. I was right in the middle of sitting in the candy store on Sutter Avenue in Brooklyn with my cousin Laura, and I remember we were talking about school, and it may have been, first grade, second grade, and we were talking about our teachers, and we didn't like them or we liked them. But it was interesting because I could see the candy store we were sitting in. I could see Sutter Avenue. And all while I was walking. Or I actually jumped later on in the walk to the doors singing Hello, I Love You. And it brought back a specific memory of driving around the University of Tampa in an Oldsmobile 420 with my then roommates. And these visualizations happened per song. I could place the music exactly where I was. And here's the great thing. Before I knew it, I had walked 6 miles at a pace of 13 and a half minutes per mile, which is relatively fast. It's just short of a jog. And by the way, I have to tell you all, I have my weight down to 180 now, and I think I'm going to stop there.
Don't talk back.
So, I was looking through my texts and my emails, and there are two things that caught my attention, totally opposite. So I'll start with the more fun thing. I got a tweet from Adam, and he writes, "Boy, you can talk. Do you even take a breath?" Well, Adam, the fact is, it's a little secret in radio and podcasting. You see, we have this ability to edit, and quite often I'll edit out the breath, so it seems like I can talk for 22 minutes and 50 seconds without taking a breath, but they're in there. You just can't hear them. All right, on a more serious, not serious, but a more interesting note, I don't know, probably not many of you are familiar with this, unless you watch the news or you watch the arts carefully. So Elaine writes to me, I keep reading and hearing about NFT. What is that? So here's the thing. So in March, Christie's, the auction house, auctioned off an NFT. It's a non-fungible token. And what it essentially is, it's an ownership of a digital item that only you own. And here's the thing. So let me see if I can explain it to you. So if I bought a David Hockney original painting, I would have the original. But you can go into any store and sometimes even Walmart, and you would see licensed copies of the David Hockney painting, but I would own the original, right? And there's proof that it's an original. They can look at the brushstrokes. They have ways of analyzing it. I have an original David Hockney and signed by him. And everybody else has copies. Well, until recently, they haven't been able to do that in the digital world. So let's say somebody designs a beautiful digital something. Could be an original song, could be a painting, or it could be a design or anything. And it's so magnificent, you want to have sole ownership of that. But other people may have copies of it. And, you can copy and paste, and you can copy files and all that. Well, now they have the ability, the digital ability, to actually implant code in that file that proves it's the original file, and that everybody else's is a copy because they won't have the NFT, the non-fungible token, built in. So I hope that wasn't too complicated. So I will... If you have any other questions about it, I find it very interesting. And by the way, Saturday Night Live recently did a skit about it, which you can go look up on YouTube probably. I'm always talking about New Vision Eye Center here. I'm saying things like I've been a patient of theirs for 7 years now. I say that I wouldn't trust my eyes to anyone else. But this time, I'd like to thank the New Vision Eye Center and the docs over there for sponsoring this show. They make it possible for me to chat with you every week and to bring you the latest in tech for the wiser and more mature of us. So thank you, New Vision, for the trust you have in this show. All right. So today I want to talk about browsing. Now, I know this will get a little bit dull, but it's something probably you should be aware of. Now, you all have browsers. It's the only way. Most people just are surfing the internet, and they use a browser. And the browser they use depends on how you use your computers. For example, if you have if you're using the Microsoft Edge browser, that's probably because you're using Windows, and that's the browser that comes with Windows. Even though you can use it on other systems, it comes with Windows, so a lot of people who have Windows use the Microsoft Edge browser. If you use Safari, that's probably because you're an Apple customer and you're using a Mac. And that's the one that's built into the Mac. If you're a Chrome user, that could be because you have a Google phone or a laptop, or you downloaded the Google browser at home because that's the browser that you use at school or work. So in other words, we use browsers that are readily available and the ones that are familiar in front of us. And the difference, by the way, between those three are sort of minimal, so you're not really looking for anything else. I'm going to try to persuade you that there are other browsers out there, which are really internet navigators. If you didn't know, that's what a browser is. And they're called private browsers. And they're by less known brands like DuckDuckGo and Brave, which have emerged big time over the last 3 years. And what stands out is that they minimize the data gathered about us by blocking the technologies used to track us. Now, that's generally better than most mainstream browsers, especially Chrome, while some browsers like Safari and Firefox also include some tracking prevention. The smaller brands have been focused on even more privacy protections. So that's what we're going to look at today, because not many of you follow this, but I came out of the advertising industry, and quite frankly, they're always trying to figure out ways of reaching you to advertise, and you all have heard about cookies, web cookies. You go to a site, they plant little pieces of code called cookies in your browser, and those cookies will follow you from site to site. And what they do is help target us with ads. And to give you an example, and I talked about this the other day, you know how you go shopping for something, and it could be shovels, because you're going to become a great gardener. And then everything you do, everything you research, all of a sudden shovel ads come up, and they follow us site to site, so you're familiar with that. That's done by placing cookies or pieces of code in your browser. And Google, which is the world's most popular browser, has been trying, Google's Chrome, which is the most popular browser out there, what they've been trying to do, knowing very well that browsers are getting smart and are going to try to block you from them from putting cookies, they're trying to develop new technological ways to target us with ads. Unlike mainstream browsers, private browsers come in many forms and serve different purposes. What I've done for the last week was sort of look at three of the most popular browsers out there. Now, you can write these down, go investigate them yourselves, and you'll see, you'll learn a lot of what I've learned about them. The three I'm going to look at is DuckDuckGo. That's one, DuckDuckGo. The other is Brave. And then there's Firefox Focus. Let's do the definition of what a private browser is. They generally incorporate web technologies that have been around for years. They rely on something, and most browsers have this, called private mode, which if you're using a browser, you may have seen it. It's called incognito mode, which is sort of a browsing session that does not record a history of the websites you visited. And of course, this is useful if you don't want people or with physical access to your device to snoop on you. They also use tracker blockers, which can often be downloaded as an add-on for other browsers, and these blockers depend on a list of known trackers. In other words, there's a list that's gathered all the time about code that tracks you, and these private browsers keep updating the list, and what they do is they stop your browser when they see a tracker, and they block it. Now, there's only one downside. It's a big downside, but sometimes you can break parts of the websites, like when you're shopping or certain videos. It's not often. I haven't found it. In fact, I haven't experienced it at all, and I've been using all three of these browsers. So let's look at the browsers, and let me look at my notes here. Okay, so I decided to look at, Firefox Focus, DuckDuckGo, and Brave. Now, they're all sort of similar, but they have some differences. Firefox Focus is only available for mobile devices like iPhones and Android smartphones. It's bare bones. It's a very simple browser. You punch in the web address, and when done browsing, you hit the trash icon to erase the session. It's as simple as that. Quitting the app automatically will purge your history. So it's a very simple browser just on your mobile devices that allows you just to look for something and erase it so nobody knows you look for it. The DuckDuckGo browser is also available for mobile devices, and it's more like a traditional browser. That means you can bookmark your favorite sites, you can open multiple browser tabs, and when you use the search bar, the browser returns results from DuckDuckGo DuckDuckGo search engine, which is different than the Google search engine. Some people think it's not as good, but again, it's not tracking your search because it's more focused on privacy. DuckDuckGo prevents ad trackers from loading, and when done browsing, you can hit the flame icon at the bottom to erase the session, much like the, if I haven't bored you enough, Brave